Hello there, very good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News where we get you all the updates on the developing stories of the day. Let's start with the headlines. India-Israel hold delegation-level talks. Prime Minister Modi and visiting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discuss defense, trade and counter-terrorism, among other issues. Differences among judges of the Supreme Court will be resolved soon. Bar Council of India says Chief Justice of Supreme Court has assured in this regard. Efforts are on to resolve differences after issues raised by 4 senior judges. People-friendly operations in the northeast of India have managed to limit terrorism to a large extent, says Army Chief General Bipin Rawat at the 70th Army Day Parade in Delhi. Says forces will step up response against enemies if compelled to do so. And millions of cricket fans await in anticipation for a century by skipper Virat Kohli in the second cricket test match against South Africa at Centurion today. Kohli arrests yet another Indian collapse with a gritty 85. It's the second day of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's historic 6-day visit to India, and the Israeli Prime Minister held delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi a short while back. During the talks, both leaders discussed a host of issues, including defense cooperation, trade, innovation and counter-terrorism. Several MOUs are expected to be signed in different areas. Ahead of the meeting, the Israeli Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He will also call on President Ramnath Kovind later this evening. Netanyahu will also attend the second India-Israel CEO Forum meeting in the evening today. The first CEO Forum was held during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel. The two leaders will also attend the India-Israel Business Summit. Netanyahu is leading a high-profile delegation comprising 130 businessmen from 102 Israeli companies from areas like agriculture, water, cybersecurity, healthcare and security on his trip. The visit comes just a month after India voted against US's move to declare Jerusalem as Israel's capital at the United Nations. However, Netanyahu has said that one negative vote at the UN cannot change the dynamics of Israel's relationship with India, terming the India-Israel ties as a marriage made in heaven.
This is a dawn of a new era in the great friendship between India and Israel. It began with Prime Minister Modi's historic visit to Israel, which created tremendous enthusiasm. It continues with my visit here, which I must say is deeply moving for my wife and me and for the entire people of Israel. And I think it heralds a flourishing of our partnership to bring prosperity and peace and progress for both our peoples.
Well, we're hoping to hear, of course, from both the Prime Ministers at a joint press conference a little later this hour. But for the moment, we're joined by correspondent Akhilesh Suman, who's tracking all those developments, joining us on the phone line. Akhilesh, give us an indication as to how those talks went, what really was discussed.
Actually, Tracy, the delegation level meeting is still going on. I'm there in Hyderabad House, and we are waiting for some announcement and joint press briefing. But you know that what we are getting from inside that the meeting is going on very well. First, the Benjamin Netanyahu met Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a one-to-one restricted meeting, and then it is a full delegation meeting in which officials of different departments have joined in. So you know that it is being termed as a relationship of the future. You know, the future means not only related to defense, but related to various other sectors of India that India needs to develop into. Like you have a good push by Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself for doing startups and business enterprises to be developed. So I think that this is the focus that Israel, having a technological expertise in almost every walks of life and business, India wants to correlate itself with that expertise. And given the fact that India has big mass who can be skilled and who can be utilized in any enterprise. So I think this is the goal with which Prime Minister Netanyahu is telling that, see, this is the relationship of the future, the marriage made in heaven. And Israeli ambassador is telling that it is an evergreen relationship, and India considers Israel as one of the best friends ever in the world. So it is going on in this direction. And I think that it is just not for defense. Defense deal might not be announced in this meeting, because this meeting defense deals are held separate. But whatever political problems are there, whatever issues coming up in between the defense deals, these are discussed at the highest political level in this delegation level talk, and declarations are made on non-defense deals. So I think we are hoping some big things in this meeting.
And already there are some very crucial statements that have been made, not just by the leaders themselves, but also by the way they're, of course, receiving each other, by the way, of course, a breaking of protocol by our going and receiving, welcoming, in fact, Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife at the airport itself. That in itself was also a breaking of protocol, which is, of course, seen in a very, very nice and warm way by the Israeli side as well. Apart from that, some statements also coming out from the Israeli Prime Minister, Akhilesh. One, of course, that, yes, they were disappointed with India's vote at the UN regarding Jerusalem, but at the same time, it was just one vote, and that is not going to hamper what is also going to be a bigger relationship in the times to come. And that is also a very good message that's coming into India as well.
Yeah, actually, this is, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu understands it very well that India has a big challenge, and also India's stakes is very big, because India is fighting for United Nations Security Council permanent membership. So it cannot adhere itself on one issue, on an issue on which the world is not at one point. There is no consensus about it. So India cannot afford to go alone or just with a few countries about this issue of Jerusalem. So Benjamin Netanyahu appreciates that India's stakes is much higher than even America's stakes at this moment, because America has gained whatever it has to gain in the world, and its only issue is that one thing that he has to address the domestic electorate, and also he has to consolidate his own power. Absolutely. And also say his allies that yes, I am on board with you.
That's right.
But in that way, India's stand on Israel has always been consistent. Mm-hmm. Indian people have always started appreciating that Israel is a country which can associate with us in almost all sectors without any hiccup. So these are the gelling factors that is coming between India and Israel, and I think that Benjamin Netanyahu represents it very well, that it cannot be a one-issue relationship, that if we cannot be on board on one issue, yes, we cannot be friends. So every country knows that there are some issues on which you will differ. That is why you are two countries.
Absolutely, and we are hoping to hear on several other issues as well, Akhilesh, when, of course, we see that joint presser with both the Prime Ministers, and we are hoping to hear from them soon. We'll come back to you then, of course, for more on that in just a bit. Meanwhile, let's head on to the other big stories that we're tracking this afternoon. Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, has assured that the crisis in the top judiciary will be sorted out soon. His assurance was given at two separate meetings with high-level delegations of top two lawyers as bodies, the Bar Council of India and the Supreme Court Bar Association. A 7-member Bar Council of India panel led by its chairman, Manan Kumar Mishra, had a 50-minute meeting with the CJI. Earlier, the Supreme Court Bar Association President Vikas Singh also met the CJI and handed over a resolution of the Apex Court lawyers' body on the crisis. He later said that the CJI has assured him that he would be looking into it. Before meeting with the CJI, the Bar Council of India delegation met Justice J. Chela, M.B. Lokar and Kurian Joseph as well. The BCI said that the judges also assured them that everything would be sorted out. Reports, in fact, saying that all the 4 judges who on Friday addressed the media have, in fact, resumed work. On Friday, they had stated that there were certain issues afflicting the country's highest court that are a threat to democracy. Meanwhile, the 4 judges addressed the media and they resumed work today.
I had a very positive meeting with the Honorable Chief Justice of India. He took my the resolution of the SCBA, and he said he will look into it, and his response was quite positive. He also said that he will ensure that the congeniality is restored in the Supreme Court at the earliest.
CJI से मुलाकात हुई, उन्होंने कहा कि मैं समझ सकता हूँ लोगों की और बार की एंजाइटी. Everything will be sorted out. There is no problem at all. और आज तो जस्टिस रंजन गोगोई साहब का और जस्टिस कुरियन जोसेफ साहब का फिर से दोबारा भी बयान आ गया कि कोई विवाद ही नहीं है।
The family of Special CBI Judge B.H. Loya, who was hearing the Sohrabuddin Sheikh encounter cases, said that they are convinced that he died of natural causes. Judge Loya's 21-year-old son addressed a press conference on Sunday and said that the family does not have any suspicion on the cause of his death. He also appealed to various NGOs and political parties to stop politicizing the death. The deceased judge's father and sister had earlier alleged foul play behind the death. Judge B.H. Loya had allegedly died of a cardiac arrest in Nagpur on the 1st of December 2014 when he had gone to attend the wedding of a colleague's daughter.
We are convinced कि वो एक नेचुरल डेथ थी। हम लोगों को कोई प्रकार का कोई डाउट या सस्पिशन नहीं है। एंड आई कैंट से एनीथिंग अबाउट जुडिशरी। जैसे कि कटके अंकल ने बताया कि देयर वाज अ पीरियड ऑफ इमोशनल टर्मोइल, जैसे मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया कि इमोशनल टर्मोइल था, तभी थोड़े रूमर्स आ गए थे, तभी उनको लगा ऐसा कुछ होगा। बट अभी वी आर क्लियर, लाइक मैं उनसे बात करके आया हूँ, आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग देम, तो उनको कुछ भी डाउट नहीं है। वी ऑल आर क्लियर विद इट।
All right, a quick break here. We'll be back with more national news in a bit. Stay with us. From a regional power to an assertive global leader.
Image building is a very complex exercise. You can gain on some fronts, but you can lose on other fronts.
India is changing and there will have to be give and take. The old days of colonialism are over.
We have a strategic partnership agreement that includes areas of cooperation in all fields, including security and defense.
India is taking confident strides on the global stage.
Pakistan is now Terroristan.
New friendships, stronger ties. Join me, Tracy Shilshi, every Monday at 10 p.m. as I speak to India's foreign policy elite. Catch all the action on India's World, only on Rajya Sabha TV. Welcome back. You're watching the Midday News, and the nation is celebrating the 70th Army Day today. The Chief of Army Staff, General Bipin Rawat, along with Navy Chief Admiral Sunil Lamba and Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal B.S. Dhanoa, paid tribute to the martyrs of the Indian Army at a ceremony at Amar Jawan Jyoti in Delhi today. General Bipin Rawat also reviewed the parade at the Karyappa Parade Ground at Delhi Cantonment. General Rawat reviewing the parade at the Karyappa Parade Ground at Delhi Cantonment, and senior officers of the Indian Army were also present at the event. He also presented the Gallantry Awards on the occasion. Addressing the parade, General Bipin Rawat sent a strong message to Pakistan and said that the Indian Army is giving a befitting reply to the neighbours' ceasefire violations and acts of terror. He said that future challenges continue to demand greater commitments from the Indian Army. Army Day is celebrated to commemorate the day when General and later Field Marshal K.M. Karyappa took over the command of the Army from General Sir F.R.R. Butcher, the last British Commander-in-Chief in 1949, and became the first Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army post-independence.
नॉर्दर्न बॉर्डर्स पर वास्तविक नियंत्रण रेखा के क्षेत्र में विवाद जारी है। इसका उल्लंघन होता रहता है, जिसे रोकने के लिए हम संयुक्त रूप से कार्य कर रहे हैं और करते रहेंगे। नियंत्रण रेखा पर पाकिस्तानी सेना संघर्ष विराम का उल्लंघन जारी रखते हुए आतंकवादियों की घुसपैठ में सहायता करने के प्रयास करती रहती है। हम विरोधियों को सबक सिखाने के लिए अपनी ताकत का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। पाकिस्तान की किसी भी उकसाने वाली कार्रवाई का हम हमेशा मुंह तोड़ जवाब देते रहेंगे। अगर हमें मजबूर किया गया, तब हम अपनी सैन्य कार्रवाई के दर्जे को बढ़ाकर अन्य कार्रवाई भी कर सकते हैं।
And President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Narendra Modi today greeted officers and soldiers of the Indian Army families on the occasion of Army Day. In a tweet, President Ramnath Kovind extended his greetings to the valiant men and women of the Indian Army and said that the Indian Army's men are the nation's pride and sentinels of our liberty. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also saluted the army personnel who sacrificed their lives while serving the nation. He said that every citizen of the country has unwavering trust and pride in the Indian Army. Meanwhile, security forces foiled an infiltration bid near the line of control in Uri sector of Jammu and Kashmir this morning, killing 6 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. The operation was carried out jointly by the Army, Jammu and Kashmir Police and the Central Armed Police Forces. Director General of State Police SP Vaid said that the militants were killed while infiltrating the Dhulanja village in North Kashmir's border area of Uri. The infiltration bid comes a fortnight after 5 soldiers and 3 militants were killed when militants stormed a CRPF camp in South Kashmir on New Year's Eve. The Jaish-e-Mohammed had taken responsibility for the suicide attack.
See, from few days the information was coming about possible attempts to infiltrate from Uri sector. So ambushes were laid out in that area by Army, JNK Police and CRPF. Today morning there was a contact in one of these ambushes and exchange of fire took place. So we have recovered 5 bodies from the spot. I think 6 have died. 1 body is being still searched. They belong to Jaish-e-Mohammed and the information was that they are suicidal attackers.
And the Indian Army carried out retaliatory action against Pakistani forces in Jammu and Kashmir this morning. 7 soldiers of the Pakistani Army have been killed in the retaliatory firing. 4 others have been injured in forward areas along the line of control in Poonch district. The retaliatory action is against ceasefire violations. We'll continue tracking developments on that front. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has said development of the agricultural sector is a priority for the NDA government. Launching agri-commodity options in Guar Seed in New Delhi on Sunday, he said that the centre is trying to increase the income of farmers by new initiatives and schemes. He also said that farmers have changed the scenario of economic growth in the country with their efforts and immense contribution. The Agri-Options initiative by the National Commodity and Derivatives Exchange Limited will give stakeholders a new set of financial instruments to hedge their price risk.
और उस बढ़ती अर्थव्यवस्था का विभिन्न वर्गों को लाभ भी होता है, लेकिन सबसे अधिक लोग और सबसे अधिक जनसंख्या इस देश की कृषि में है और जब तक वो लाभ स्पष्ट और प्रत्यक्ष रूप से कृषि में नहीं दिखता तब तक वो जो विकास होता है वो अपने आप में न्यायसंगत या इक्विटेबल नहीं होता और इसलिए ये लाभ वहां तक पहुंचे और ये विकास वहां भी उसी मात्रा में देखने को मिले, ये देश की प्राथमिकताओं में से एक है। और कई ऐसे स्थान हैं जहां पर संकट इसलिए भी दिखता है कि पैदावार उसने बढ़ा दी और उसकी वजह से दाम कम हो गए और उसको अपनी पैदावार का दाम नहीं मिला। समाज में कई कदम उठाए गए, उसी दिशा में आज इस ऑप्शंस का जो किसान को इसके माध्यम से मिलेगी, इस ट्रेडिंग के माध्यम से, उसी दिशा का ये एक अपने आप में महत्वपूर्ण कदम होगा।
Another break here. Up next, we'll get you the top international stories.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritan Shura and you're watching Law of the Land.
Gratuity under the Act is applicable only on the basis of the central government gratuity.
These shops and other establishments which are covered under the State Shops and Other Establishment Act.
निरंतर वेतन आयोग में जो बढ़ोतरी हो रही है, तो अभी 7वें वेतन आयोग के हिसाब से सरकारी कर्मचारियों के लिए सीमा बढ़ा दी गई है।
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. International news, and at least 26 people have been killed and over 90 injured in a double suicide in Iraq's capital, Baghdad, today. According to authorities, 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up in the Al Tayaran Square in central Baghdad. The area is a bustling center of commerce and a place where day laborers gather in the early morning waiting for jobs. The Iraqi Home Ministry has said that the death toll is likely to rise. No group has claimed responsibility of the attack yet. This is the second attack in Baghdad in 3 days. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has described U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East peace efforts as the slap of the century. At a meeting of Palestinian leaders, Abbas stressed that he would not accept any peace plan from the U.S. after it recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Abbas's comments were made at the start of a 2-day meeting of the Palestinian Central Council, the Palestinians' highest decision-making body, where 95 delegates will debate future strategies. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence, who is set to visit the region later this month, has also been snubbed, and Palestinian officials have said that they will not meet him because of Trump's Jerusalem call. Abbas also accused Israel itself of putting an end to the Oslo Accords, which began the peace process in 1995. Earlier this month, Trump had threatened to cut aid if the Palestinians rejected peace talks and insisted that recognition of Jerusalem took the hugely divisive issue off the table for new peace talks. But the Palestinians argue that the move shows the U.S. cannot be a neutral broker.
والآن قلنا لا لترامب ولغير ترامب، لا، لن نقبل مشروعه. المفاوضات السياسية برعاية دولية وليست منفردة. لا نقبل أمريكا أن تكون وسيطا بيننا وبين إسرائيل.
A strong earthquake off southwestern Peru's Pacific coast has killed at least 1 person and injured scores of people. The magnitude 7.1 tremor struck at a depth of 36 kilometers southwest of Acari. The areas affected are mainly rural, and blocked roads are slowing down rescue efforts, but food, blankets and tents have been airdropped. President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski also traveled to the towns of Chala and Acari, 2 of the areas most affected by the quake, to assess the damage. He said that some 100 houses had collapsed, but there was no tsunami warning.
El gobierno se está preocupando de esto y estamos muy atentos a cualquier sismo, cualquier alud, cualquier tsunami que pueda resultar, pero por el momento está todo más o menos tranquilo.
Earthquakes are common in Peru, but many homes are built with precarious materials that cannot withstand the tremors. Already questions are being raised on the adobe houses, as they are called. The area between the South America and Nazca plates, where the tremor occurred, is prone to earthquakes, with 13 above magnitude 6.5 occurring over the past century. In 2007, an earthquake killed hundreds in the region of Ica. Sports news now. In India will resume their first innings at 183 for 5 on the 3rd day today of the second test against South Africa at Centurion. The visitors are trailing by 152 runs. Skipper Virat Kohli on 85 and Hardik Pandya on 11 were at the crease when play ended on Sunday. The hosts were bowled out for 335 runs in their first innings. For India, Ravichandran Ashwin claimed 4 wickets. South Africa is leading the 3-test series 1-0 as they won the first test in Cape Town by 72 runs. And now on to the big Grand Slam tournament of the year, the Australian Open, is American tennis player Venus Williams and Sloane Stephens have been knocked out in the first round of the Australian Open tournament. 5th-seeded Williams lost to Belinda Bencic of Switzerland 6-3, 7-5, while Stephens lost to S. Zhang of China 2-6, 7-6, 6-2. In another match, British player Kyle Edmund beat 11th-seeded Kevin Adamson in 5 straight sets, 6-7, 6-3, 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. Edmund will now face Uzbekistan's Denis Istomin in the second round. That's it on the Midday News. Thank you for joining us.